Hi, I'm going to show this video the story of a specific former California women's prison custody officer who is protesting putting men who are claiming that they are women and putting those men into women's prisons where they're locked up with women and the women really have no way of protecting themselves because there's not a lot of stuff in a prison room that a woman can use to protect herself. And if that's her cellmate, she's kind of stuck for a long period of time. And this isn't, a lot of the stuff he says here is true. I want you to listen and then we'll talk about it.
Transfer male inmates to female institutions. Oh, they were excited. They were like kids in a candy store because they knew they were going from a men's prison to a female's prison. We would watch them take off in the bus.
Now, women have also been
joined the Army at
abused by
17,
custody officers,
deployed to Iraq in
but these are
2004,
prisoners,
got out,
male
and that's when I
prisoners
began my career with the California
against
Department of
women
Corrections
prisoners.
in 2006. I did a total of 16 years, and then I resigned on December 1st, 2022. The transgender implementation was one of many things happening in the California Department of Corrections that drove me to leave. I had all these accolades, and the last year I left, I made $157,000. I have a daughter, I have a home, 2 vehicles. It was a sacrifice, for sure. So when the Department of Corrections started doing all this implementation, they had an ISU sergeant, an investigative service unit sergeant, give the whole prison a class on how we will now be calling the inmates by the pronoun that they would like to be called as. Of course, a lot of questions arise. I mean, this was all news to us. And being in a prison is kind of like, we're really going to prioritize this right now when we got a lot of other stuff going on. And that was my introduction, the whole, no, you absolutely will refer to them by the pronoun that they want to be. And that was the beginning. And then it just went full throttle. You did have your legitimate individuals that identified as transgenders. You could tell when they would alter their shirts to be like tube tops, alter their boxers to be like panties, cut the inside of a Dorito bag because it's nice and silver and make little earring stars, and Kool-Aid, make lipstick. However, when the state of California, the Department of Corrections, gave them the full authorization to do as they pleased, you had everybody jump on that program. A lot of non-authentic and a lot of manipulation of the system. Oh, it was obvious. They were telling us this is what we're doing. Why not? A male inmate identifying as a female can now pick and choose to have a female perform an unclothed body search of them. So now you have females looking at the male body parts, and the inmates are demanding it. There was a male inmate housed in CTC, the hospital inside of a prison at Donovan. He was scheduled to have a sex realignment surgery in Beverly Hills. I mean, they're getting top of the line surgeries by taxpayer money. He was bragging about, when I come back, I'm gonna prostitute myself on the yard. I'm gonna make money. So the individual comes back, and then there was complications with the surgery. So then he turns around and sues the state, saying they purposely gave him a faulty surgery. The way that the California Department of Corrections is, they will always settle. This has gone on for way too long, and there is some damage that has been done. You guys have to be aware of what is actually happening, where your taxpayers' monies are going, how people's voices and cries for help are being suppressed through means of retaliation, corruption. It's dangerous. It's downright dangerous. I was actually probably the first person to step out and speak on it, and I can only hope that more follow suit.
What about the housing of male inmates in female prisons, right, that are alleging they're transgender, and they're manipulating the system to take advantage and take what they want? Something needs to drastically change in CDCR, and that change needs to start at the top.
So I resigned prior to my retirement age of 50, 12 years sooner. Earlier, it wasn't in the cards, it wasn't in the plan. The plan was to do a full career, lengthy career, and retire and collect a pension. However, when things became dangerous, when people's lives were being affected and jeopardized, this is something I learned in the Army from my leaders in the Army. You put the troops' safety first and foremost. As we're speaking right now, you have male inmates housed in female prisons, and God knows what's happening in those walls and in those cells. I'm not talking about things in the past. I'm talking about what's happening now, and this is why I left. Some of them are in there for sex crimes. They were excited because California, the Department of Corrections gave them a perfect storm to be able to exploit their sexual predatory behaviors. That's unethical, that's immoral, that's dangerous. Victimization of legitimate female inmates. And every time a female inmate will try to voice their complaints or their concerns for their victimizations, they will be retaliated against.
I couldn't imagine being in a situation where nobody can hear you, right? Where everything you say is getting shut down.
Prison is a microcosm of what's actually happening in the world. It's a smaller version. It's exactly what's happening to society, right? And we're watching this as a whole. I was born in 1984. I've seen the changes. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I don't want her to grow up in a world that's currently backwards or upside down. You know, and I explained to my 5-year-old daughter, hey, Daddy works around monsters. These are monsters. So you give them a green light and a pass to go into these women's facilities, they're chomping at the bits. And the role of a correctional officer, you know, they're simply there opening and unlocking gates. They know it's not right. They know in their heart it's not right. They reach out to me. I mean, it doesn't sit well. See, their job is not to stop the individual from going into there. That he's already been approved through the proper chains to be able to let, you know, the wolf go into the chicken's den. The administration and the powers that be, in my 16 years experience, has always put political agendas, personal gain, over common sense, morals, values, ethics. However, there's also a moral code. There's also an obligation to protect the ones in our custody. They are inmates in our custody. And if you're purposely putting a predator amongst prey, so to say, I don't got to tell you what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen.
So this is a problem, one of many problems where men are invading women's spaces. Women have to have safe spaces. Women cannot compete with men just because the man decides to call himself a woman, just because the male may be effeminate, wearing jewelry, lipstick, speaking in a certain manner, wearing certain hairstyles. These are biological, scientific differences. There are some women who can beat up some men, but in general, you cannot put men and women and equate them and say, okay, you're calling yourself a woman, we're going to treat you like a woman, and we're going to put you with women. That does not work. Also, in the correctional system, there are many men who feel like they are women and they hate real women. The problem is that there is a jealousy because they want to be a woman, but they're not a woman. They know they're not a woman. They are full of hate for women, and they can be a danger when put into a cell with real women. There are many, many problems with this social act. This is a social thing where we're trying to treat men as women because we want them to feel good and this is what they identify as, and blah, blah, blah. There are certain things that have to be done on a scientific basis, and you need to be able to look at a man and you need to be able to look at a woman and know that there is a biological difference. Some men may be like women, some women may be like men, but if you're going to classify people, it is not to be done by a group of people who really don't have the ability to do that. They don't have the background to do that. And they're making these judgments and they're putting women in a lot of harm. A lot of harm. This is like pimping women. And we have to make a stand. I support females who refuse to participate in sports, which make the men extremely superior to the women based on biology. Why should we support track meets and other things that are trying to diminish women? They're basically taking away women's trophies and giving it to a man. Now the man has two ways. He can either compete with men or he can compete against women, calling himself a woman. It's ridiculous. So I hope that you have some thoughts about this and want to discuss it. I would be very open to discussing this on a live. If you're interested, let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Bye. Like and subscribe.